Hey everybody, so in this video we're going to dive into some two-step inequality word problems. So please make sure as you watch this video that you're following along with these examples on your notes page, right? There's going to be some times where you can pause to finish off the problem, but just please make sure you're getting these down as you watch. So example 1, so there's this car dealership and they're trying to sell all of their cars. There are currently 525 cars on the lot, and the manager thinks that they can sell or get rid of 50 cars per week, right? So just like when we were doing equation word problems, there's our word per. That's going to be our multiplying word. They want us to estimate how many weeks it will take to get the number of cars on the lot to be fewer than 75. So what we're looking for is the amount of weeks. So again, it says how many weeks. So we're going to say let W equal the number of weeks, right? That's our unknown. That's what we're solving for. And now we have to take this information that they gave us and write an inequality from it. So we know that it says fewer than 75. So another way to say fewer than is less than. So we're going to say something has to be less than 75, right? And again, that's just coming from the blue part. What is it that has to be less than 75? Well, the amount of cars that are on the lot. So already, like the initial amount of cars is 525, right? That's how many cars they already have. And then they want to get rid of 50 cars per week. So we're going to say 50W, right? Again, the W, the variable, goes with the number that is multiplying. Usually it says per or each in the problem. And then the only thing that's a little bit different is they're selling the cars. So we're not going to go plus 50W. We don't want to add 50 cars a week. We want to subtract 50W. Okay, so here's our inequality. If you're still not sure where this came from, pause the video and go back. Rewatch the part about where this inequality came from. But right now we're going to solve it. So again, this is a non-parentheses type. So we're going to subtract away the 525 from both sides as our first step. If we do that, that's going to give us negative 50W is less than negative 450. Step 2 is to say let's divide by a negative 50 on both sides. And hopefully you remember the rule. If we divide or multiply by a negative number, we need to take our inequality and flip it. So now this becomes greater than. So W is greater than 9. And then let's put our little Uno reverse arrow to show that we remembered we needed to flip that sign. So that means it will take the dealership more than 9 weeks to get the amount of cars to be fewer than 75. So we could take this inequality and graph it. So we'll put our 9 in the center. Whoops, add a couple more numbers for our tick marks. So we'll do 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Our symbol is greater than, so that means we're going to need an open circle with an arrow going to the right. And then our final step is to just take our solution set and pick an answer to double check our work. So we know our original inequality was 525 minus 50W. But instead of W, I'm just going to leave that blank. And we know that this should be less than 75. All we need to do is take this W is greater than 9 and pick a number that is greater than 9 to plug into this spot. So let's just go with 10. If we put all of this into our calculator, this should give us a 25, which should be less than 75. That is true, so you can give it a check mark and know that you did this right. All right, so there's certainly a lot going on in this problem. So again, the biggest challenge, the biggest task is to make sure you know how to write the inequality. So we're going to look at number 2 again together and see if this helps. But again, if you need to go back and rewatch this part about writing the inequality, feel free to do that. And then solving it is just like we've been doing. So we should be good with that. All right, so if you scroll to example 2, so fishing adventures rent small fishing boats Each boat can only carry 1,200 pounds of people and gear. So 1,200 pounds is the maximum, right? No more than 1,200 pounds. So no more than tells us we're going to need to use less than or equal to 1,200. So that's good. Assume that the average person is 150 pounds. So that's the weight of the person. And then there's some other weights too, right? Each group will require 200 pounds of gear and 10 pounds of gear per person. So there's a lot going on here. And then we're writing an inequality to figure out the number of people that the boat can carry. So we're going to say, let's use P, which is going to stand for the number of people. And we need to figure out what has to be less than 1,200 pounds, right? Well, we have for each person, right, there is 150 pounds for their weight and 10 pounds of gear. So that's going to be a total of 160 pounds per person. And again, that's coming from the yellow stuff from the problem. And then there's also the 200 pounds of gear that each person has, which is going to be the green portion. Oops. Okay, so this is our inequality. Again, a non-parentheses example. So let's just go forward and solve it. So we're going to say let's subtract away our 200 from both sides. That's going to leave us with 160p is less than or equal to 1,000. That's step one. Step two is to say let's just divide by 160 on both sides. That's going to tell us that P, or the number of people, has to be less than or equal to 6.25. But think about this, right? Our variable is number of people. Could you ever have 0.25 of a person, a quarter of a person? Nope, you definitely can't, right? People is one of the weird things that has to be whole numbers. So it has to be the whole number that is less than or equal to 6.25. So the closest one that we're going to have to pick is P is less than or equal to 6. So the maximum number of people that the boat can carry is 6 people. So again, we'll do our little graph to show our solution set. This is going to be a closed circle with an arrow going to the left. So the boat can hold 6 people and can also hold anybody that is less than 6, that amount. So checking our work, we're going to rewrite 160, and instead of P, we're going to leave a blank. Plus 200 should be less than or equal to 1,200. We can pick any value for P that is less than or equal to 6. So let's just pick 5. If you plug all of this into your calculator, you should be getting 1,000, which should be less than or equal to 1,200, which it in fact is. You can give yourself a check mark and know that you checked this one and you are good to go. Okay, if you scroll to example 3, let's talk about an essay real quick. So Chrissy is trying to figure out how long her essay will take her to write. It must be at least 10 pages. So there we go. That's our total, right? We want it to be at least 10 pages. So that's going to be greater than or equal to 10. She has already written 2 pages. So there we go. We can start with that. That is our 2-page part. And then it says that she can write at a rate of 3 pages in 2 hours. So again, if we want to make this a unit rate, that means we could do 3/2 pages per hour. You just take 3 and divide by 2, right? 3 pages in 2 hours is 3/2 or 1.5. It means the same thing. So there's our inequality. It says, how long does she need to finish the essay? So this is in hours. So we're going to say, let H be the number of hours to complete the essay. Okay, so why don't you pause the video real quick, see if you can take the inequality that we just wrote and see if you can solve it and get our solution set. And then unpause it in a minute and you can check your work. All right, so take a look, compare your work to this, right? So again, our first step is to subtract away the 2 and then divide by 3/2. So it's going to be h, or the number of hours, is greater than or equal to 5 1/3. This one we can leave as our fraction, as our mixed number, because you can have 1/3 of an hour, right? You can't have 1/3 of a person, though, from like example 2. So a minimum of 5 1/3 hours, closed circle going to the right on our number line. And then if we check real quick, we're going to go back to our original inequality, 2 plus 3/2. Leave a spot where it says h should be greater than or equal to, and that was 10, sorry, not 12. We can pick anything that is bigger than or equal to 5 1/3. I guess the obvious choice would be just to do a 6. You could put all this into your calculator, and this should give you 11, which is greater than or equal to 10, so you know that you are good to go. All right, our final one that we're going to have you take the lead on is our learning check. So there's a car that we're renting for $25 per day. So there's $25. I see the per word. That tells us this is going to be our multiplying number, plus a one-time fee of $750 for the insurance. How many days can the car be rented? So our variable is going to be D, which is the number of days. And we want the cost to be no more than $525. So it can equal $525, but it can't be anything more than that. So pause this video, see if you can use the highlighted information to write your inequality. All right, here's your inequality. So again, we know it can't be any more than 525. So that is less than or equal to 525. In blue, we know there's a one-time fee of $75.50. So that does not go with our variable. But we know the car costs $25 per day, right? Per tells us we need to write our variable next to it. So there's your inequality. Now we're going to pause the video one last time, let you finish this one off, and then in a minute you can double check your work and see how you did. All right, so take a look. Here are your 2 steps to solve. So if you solve this correctly, you should be getting D is less than or equal to 17.98. So the days, the amount of days that you could rent the car has to be less than or equal to 17.98 days. So you can definitely have 0.98 of a day, right? I decided to take this one to the nearest whole number, right? So the biggest whole number that is less than 17.98. So I just made it 17 days. So that's the maximum time that you could rent the car based on this money. If you check it just by plugging in a 16 or anything less than that, you would see that it would give you a price that is less than $525. So you would be good to go. So hopefully this video helped. There was certainly a lot in here. So thank you for your patience and watching along. Hopefully it helped to do the highlighting and to start piecing your inequalities together. So I hope that helped. We're going to have you try some practice with some examples that are very similar to this. So make sure you look back at these notes, look back at the video if you need to, and good luck with the practice. And thank you for watching.